Okay, we are gonna do the final test, which is a duel between the Battlecruiser and my Ares class heavy cruiser. Now, the Ares is not as large or heavy as the ES Battlecruiser, but it has 4 more guns, just like 4 barrels more. Okay, here comes the first volley. Let's try to equate that. I'm gonna try to use the superior speed of the Ares to outmaneuver. Uh-oh. Bad miss. Seem to be doing fine, relatively. Whoa. So we're nearing max speed right now. That got the bridge. Near miss. Okay, that's enough. Okay, we're gonna do the damage assessment and the overall like performance analysis of the ES Battlecruiser, which Seukone, you have codenamed the. Remind me the name, please.
Garion. I'm not
Garion.
sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. Oh, it sounds cool. I really like it. It was between that and Typhon, and I like both names, but Garion sounds more. I don't know, more akin to what it is somehow.
A little less overused too.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, we were just talking about it, and I was just saying that what we saw here in this final engagement, um, well, it was surprising to me because the Garion performed so well with the previous tests, and the Ares is actually, I mean, it has only four heavy guns more than the Garion has in total. So I don't know, what do you make of it?
Well, I identify two major factors here that gave you such an overwhelming victory. The first was your much heavier fixed weapon battery. You had 8 25-centimeter guns, and I had two. Uh, so when you landed hits with that, you were able to do much more damage, and your forward battery was better able to stand damage. I mean, you lost 3 guns from the front, which is more than I lost, but I only had 2 to lose, so you were able to keep firing. The other thing is just how much stronger the 230 millimeter quad mounts are than the single mounts. Their ability to just fire basically non-stop, just choose right through heavy armor, and it creates such a wall of heavy shells that it's very difficult to dodge it. You basically just have to sort of charge through it and hope for the best. And because you were able to just constantly pound on me with those guns and with your forward guns, I actually got to a point where after I lost all of my main guns, I tried to ram you. But between the sheer kinetic impact of your weapons and the drag from the parts that got knocked loose inside of my ship, I actually couldn't accelerate. You would hit me and I would lose like 4 meters per second, and you would hit me again and I would lose another 4 meters per second. and so you were able to outrun me traveling backwards because of how badly my ship was falling apart and how hard yours was hitting.
Yeah, I was actually surprised that you didn't achieve the ramming because I did notice that you were coming in and I was afraid a little. I think in the footage it shows that I deactivated the dampeners and just press spacebar and like hope for the best that it wouldn't take as much damage from the ram.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I didn't. I wasn't expecting the kinetic energy to transfer so well in such a large ship. I thought, I mean, only like fighters could get like knocked over and thrown around with an impact, but apparently it does. I mean, it does that for large vessels too.
There's definitely a significant effect, especially with that much massed heavy firepower. If you were firing one or two of those 25 centimeter guns at me, or one or two 230 millimeter turrets, yeah, it probably wouldn't have had much of an effect. But when you had, at the end of the battle, 5 of your 25 centimeter guns that were still left, you still had some of your 230 singles, and you still had that 230 quad that were just pounding constantly at it. I couldn't accelerate because of how much I was getting smacked in the face by those guns.
I see. Well, I think it becomes a matter of whether a large ship that is close into a capital ship size have, or maybe they do either have it or not have it when it comes to the quad mount for the 230 millimeter guns, because they do make a difference. And like you just mentioned, it's the sheer like wall they put in space.
Volume of fire. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was trying to fit those into the Garion, but I couldn't because it would alter the original design too much, and it wouldn't go along the lines of the creator's vision for the ship. And I do have to say this because in the pics that he shows, clarifying and reminding that the ship is a template, that he basically published a vessel that has weapon mounts available, so the user can just like put any mods that they want. And
Mm-hmm.
he does show some example shots in which there are a few of the Telion guns, the ones by MechSpecs, the triple ones that do that actually look like an old battleship gun.
Yeah.
Uh, I we decided against that weapons pack because they cannot compete with the Okim. And overall, they have a slower traverse speed, lower elevation angles, and the bullet speed is also slower. That's what well I decided to go with the Okim pack for that one, equipping it with single battle cannon turrets. But those don't fire as fast, like you mentioned. So I would say that at this point, if any ship that is going to use the Okim weapons pack, if it's a capital ship or if it's a cruiser or below, it definitely needs the quad guns somehow. Uh, it's kind of like an advice to designers that they need to find place for it. And to be honest, I'm not like a big fan of the shape. I think it's like I don't know,
Yeah.
uh, it just protrudes too much. That's why I always put a self-repair system in it. But yeah, that made the difference for sure. Because I was surprised when I managed to kept the 25 centimeter cans, the battle cannons, because
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the Garion would like completely destroy the nose. Like when we tried in an off-camera test that we did with a different ship, the Athena, is it? Like the nose of the Ares got completely blown off. So
With the Athena, I had 230 millimeter fixed guns on the front, and those fire more rapidly than the 25s. So when I got in close, I was able to just pound on it and pound on it. And I also had a lot more 102, 22 millimeter guns on the Athena, and those are really good at singling out heavy guns and just picking them off. Uh, Whereas the 230 millimeter guns both fire slower and are more for blasting off huge chunks of armor than taking out subsystems.
I see.
So it doesn't really surprise me that the Athena was able to disable your forward weapon battery more effectively because it had guns that were more suited for taking out subsystems as opposed to just smashing giant holes.
Yeah, I see. That's definitely a good assessment of it. I actually didn't know. I have to say here, like publicly, that I am learning a lot from Sukunen, especially balancing ships. So I say we paste in a clean version, like an undamaged version of the battle cruiser, and do an overall analysis of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is the new undamaged Garian battle cruiser, and we were just talking about how in the case of the Ares, it has 68 gyroscopes, which is quite
And
a
if
lot.
I'm remembering correctly, the Garian only has about a dozen or so, which is a huge turn advantage, mobility advantage for the Ares Garian, because your gyroscopes are the primary factor in how well you can bring your forward guns to bear. And so not only did the Ares have heavier fixed forward armament, but since it had better gyroscopes, it was able to get those guns on target more quickly and more often than the Garian class could, which means more shots on target, more damage output, which is a big factor. It also made it much more difficult for me to keep up with the Ares towards the end of the fight when I was trying to ram it, because the Ares could change its vector a little bit faster than the Garian could compensate to try and catch up.
Yeah, actually, that's a design characteristic for the ships that I made. Since they tend to be on the heavy side, I I have like more like a defensive approach. So if I know that any other ship out there is going to outrun me, uh, I can, let's say, settle for outmaneuver or outturn them, or just
Agreed.
keep the beat on them. So in that case, I chose the gyros over turning rate over speed. So
In
okay,
big ships, that seems to be the key factor. A big ship is never going to be super fast unless you dedicate a disproportionate amount of it to mass drives or engines. So what ends up being key, since you have so much mass and so much heavy armor to absorb punishment, is being able to get your guns on target and to be able to turn to track the enemy that you're trying to fight. And that's all in the gyros. So
exactly.
gyros are absolutely crucial to a heavy ship. And while I like the empty space ships a lot, I've noticed that they tend to be under equipped with gyroscopes, and that tends to be one of their biggest failings so far, is their limited turn rate.
It actually also helped the torpedo achieve the hit in the previous test.
Agreed. Yeah.
It has 14, let's see, yeah, 14 gyroscopes. And we have to say that this ship is roughly 2 million tons heavier than the Ares. The Ares
Yeah.
is,
So that kind of gyro loadout is just inadequate for a ship of this mass.
yeah, I agree. I agree on that point. It's definitely in much needed gyro upgrade. Okay, so let's do a final assessment. And yesterday we decided that the criteria that we're going to use for this series of videos is we're going to basically evaluate the ships with three aspects: looks, functionality, and scale. And I want to begin with the looks, which I don't know what you think, but I think this is just beautiful. It's a work of art.
It's a fantastic ship. Uh, it's not the most efficient design possible, but it is a design that is relatively functional. It works. It doesn't fight itself or step on its own toes in terms of the layout of the ship, and it manages to look really, really good while doing it.